All right, here we go. We are live. We're rolling. Okay. We've got about 10 minutes until first pitch. Scotty Braun with you and Ruben Amaro Jr. joining me right now. You can hear him calling Phillies games, including this weekend. He was awesome. And of course, one of the stars, or today I can just call him the star since the other ones aren't on, of the Phillies show, part of the FT network. And we've worked together for years at this point. Ruben, great to see you, man. How you doing?
Great to be with you, Scott. Man, it's pretty cool.
It's cool, right? Yeah.
Digging on this, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. We're going to roll through with a few innings, you and I, on the Mets and Phillies. Eric Kratz will join us later. Former Met Mike Cameron will join us later as well. And we'll just chill. We'll watch the game. We'll do, a light call of the game. We'll answer questions. It's a big series. We're excited about it. The Mets and the Phillies are both off to pretty good starts. I know we have some issues that we can go over with each side as we lead up to game time here. And first pitch is in about 8 minutes. So for anyone that's new to the party here and watching on YouTube, that's where we have the crowd that we would love to come over to Playback, because it is free to sign up for an account. And you can actually stream the game through whatever service you have, like MLB.TV or even the Phillies or the Mets digital streaming packages, and literally watch the game with us as we go. So this is really new in the baseball space. We're excited about it. First experience here for Ruben. So let's do a pseudo pregame show, shall we? Phillies coming off an okay series against the Marlins. I say okay because they should be one of the worst teams in baseball, talking about the Marlins. And the problem it looked like with the Phillies is the theme right now. A lot of things going well, except for...
Yeah, their bullpen's been struggling. There's no question about it. And I know that the fans out there are saying, well, they didn't do much to the bullpen. They only added Jordan Romano and Joe Ross to that bullpen. Now they have Carlos Hernandez, who has been added as a waiver claim from Kansas City. But I think more than anything else, I think the Philly fans out there are saying, well, why would you let Jeff Hoffman go? He's dealing over there in Toronto. Well, Jeff Hoffman secured a pretty hefty contract 3 times, 10 or 11 or whatever it was, maybe 12. And I don't think that the Phillies were prepared to go to those lengths. And, there was some question, I believe, about maybe some of his health. But so far, he's been throwing great for Toronto. I just think more than anything else, the Phillies bullpen, particularly Romano, for a couple of different reasons, just hasn't gotten unglued. Has a very, very tough start to the season. At first, it was like a mechanical thing. And then I think there's might be some issues with him tipping some pitches in his last outing. Even though his velocity's back now, he's up to like 98, 99, 100 even in his last outing. But they got to get a little bit more organized. They do have Alvarado throwing the ball pretty well for him in the back end, and Strom as well. But they need more. They need those right-handers to help them out.
I know you guys have been addressing this on the Phillies show, so if anyone wants to check that out, if you're new to the party and you're a Phillies fan, it would be highly advised that you give that a listen. Are you guys going over potential trade deadline moves eventually? Obviously, we're way too early, but do you think this has more to do with players internally just figuring things out? Or do you think that ultimately they're going to have to acquire someone more on the high leverage end? I mean, are they going to do something? Of course, right? They're going to do something, but is it looking like they'll have to do something depth-wise? Or do you think that they might go after one of the premier high leverage guys that could be available? Of course, the name that I think is going to be the headliner is someone like Ryan Helsley, if the Cardinals aren't in a playoff position by then.
Yeah, and I think they may have already sort of broached that subject last year. I think the Helsley's name popped a few times last year when they're trying to make acquisitions. They ended up going with Carlos Estevez, who actually threw pretty well for them at the back end. So they lost both Estevez and Hoffman when you look at the whole totality of it from 2024 to 2025. Dave Dombrowski's a pretty aggressive guy, and obviously John Middleton. I mean, these guys are hell-bent on winning. At the same time, they have certain, prospects that pretty much everybody wants to have that they probably will not let go of. As of right now, I'm sure that they're looking at some things, but I don't think they're actively pushing. I think they're trying to internally get guys right. Orion Kirkring's got to get right. He's got to get a little bit more consistent with his sweeper and his sinker combination. And Romano's got to get right. And I think they got to give him a little bit of time. I think, Romano, he's a guy, I liked him. I've always liked him. I love his demeanor. It's an adjustment for him. He's no longer pitching in the ninth. They do, Rob Thompson, the manager of the Phillies, he puts guys in pockets, right? He'll put them in the seventh, he'll put them in the eighth, sort of match guys up. So there's not really a ninth inning guy other than maybe Alvarado right now. So it's a different role for Romano to kind of deal with, and I think that's something that the mechanics, the role, the new team, I think all those things have sort of helped him and put him in a position to struggle right now. And I think it's just a matter of making a couple of adjustments there to be a little bit more effective.
What are you expecting coming up for this series? Obviously, it's a regular season series, but the Mets are playing pretty good ball right now. And at the same time, I mean, I watch a good chunk of Mets games. I don't feel like their offense is truly representing what it could be eventually. Juan Soto is off to a very nice start. He is capable of getting scorching hot and displaying a lot more power. Is he going to have as much pop as he did last year when you're playing half your games in Yankee Stadium? No, there's definitely a difference between Yankee Stadium and Citi Field where the Mets play. But at the same time, I mean, he's your big money superstar and he looks really good. He's doing what he normally does, which is set the table, get on base, get some key clutch knocks. But I do think there's another gear for this team. And of course, it's a sour taste for Phillies fans, Ruben, because they bounced the Phillies from their postseason, really World Series dreams last year.
Yeah, there's no question that there's a big time rivalry. And I think the mojo sort of has switched over the last probably 5 or 6 months where, there was a time when the Phillies basically had, I think, the Mets number. Well, that sort of changed in the middle of the season last year. I think it started right when they went to England, as a matter of fact, and played there. From that point on, the Phillies have played. I mean, if you sort of zero it all out, the Phillies have been sort of right around 500, just north of that. And, when Lindor had that little meeting with their team last year and got them rolling. They got the mojo going, and Mendoza did what he was doing as far as leading this team. I think they switched gears, and the fact that they played much better at the end of the season, they beat the Phillies in the NLDS, knocked them out. I think all those things. I think the momentum, the overall momentum, as far as the Mets versus Phillies matchup. I think it's sort of switched, and it will be interesting to see how the Phillies respond here, especially up in New York, where there's going to be a whole lot of energy there. And I'm kind of interested to see like what it's going to be like as far as the fan base, because the Phillies travel really well. The Philly fan base travels super well. And it'll be interesting to see how many Phillies fans are there cheering on the Fightins. But I gotta believe. I just feel like there's a whole different type of mojo that the Mets have now compared to where they were, in the early part of the season, maybe April, May of last year, and their confidence level is much higher.
Yeah, Francisco Lindor mentioned that the other day. He was like, we did not have this kind of turnout last year. They had a super slow start. The expectations were not high. I mean, they were probably, if not the one of the most surprising teams in baseball last year because most people did not think they were going to be a playoff team. They thought they were going to be going through a transition year. Fast forward, what usually happens is the next year after the success is where you really see the attendance numbers spike, the revenue come in. So that's a good sign for the Mets, obviously, to see people really excited. Of course, they made plenty of moves in the offseason, including the Soto signing. I don't want to slight what's going on in Philadelphia because we brought this up on Foul Territory today. They set a record, or not an overall record, but what was it? The Marlins game, was it Friday or Saturday where they got it up to a number they hadn't gotten to since opening day of 2017?
45,045 people in a regular season game. I think that was the highest numbers for years and years and years. I mean, I want to say 2012. That's a huge number. And, during that time, I was I don't know, I guess from '08 through around 2012, I don't know, we had 250 straight sellouts. It was pretty amazing, but the fan base there, man, they're killing it. It's been outstanding.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, very impressive because also, Ruben, if you had told me that the record was set for Phillies Dodgers, I would be like, cool, that tracks. So Tani and the superstars. for Phillies Marlins really says something about the home crowd and that they're just trying to get to games, and you're getting standing room only, the whole deal going on there. That's really special.
Yeah, pretty amazing that with the Marlins, especially. I know it was the Philly Fanatic's birthday on Sunday, and it was it was Easter and all the other stuff. But the Philly fans, man, they are while they're probably a little disappointed to make the big move during the course of the off season, like they did prior seasons. They still have a great fan base, man, and they're still supporting.
Yeah, they've had consistent winning for the last several years. All right, so let's start to zoom into the game here. So this is how it works. I mean, we're watching, we're alt casting along with anybody else that's playing along here. I know we're popped up on the Philly show and the Foul Territory YouTube channels as well. So if you want to make your way over for the first time on Playback and watch along with us, we'll have Mike Cameron and Eric Kratz joining us later on. But Ruben and I are going to run through the first few innings here. So Tyler McGill is on the mound for the Mets, and man, it took a little time for him to marinate, but he has developed into something special. I know they're showing a lot of pitches right now for him, but he's simplified it. He's mostly four-seam slider and sinker, and obviously you can see why the curveball's not getting used much right now. 375 batting average against it, but he's keeping it simple, and he's a big imposing presence on the mound, and
Oh yeah,
he looks really good.
Yeah, he's thrown the ball well. Obviously, he had his last outing, maybe not as great, but he's had a lot of success against the Phillies. Phillies have struggled against him, and whenever a pitcher's on the mound and he knows he's had like this team's number, you certainly have a lot more confidence in there, and it'll be interesting to see how the Phillies adjust to McGill because they have not done all that well against him.
And we'll get to Nola later when he's on the mound, but it's been a really tough year for him so far. Got to keep everything in context. I mean, you're not even a month into the season or just getting to a month into the season for some teams. But here we go. All right. First pitch on its way, and it is taken inside. And here we go. We got the Mets and the Phillies, and it's Ruben Amaro and myself as they get going here in the top of the first. Weather-wise, I'm actually in Florida right now. What are we working with? Are you in the Northeast?
I am in the Northeast, and it was here in Philadelphia, actually, where I am, probably somewhere around 55, 60, maybe a little breezy. That's what it's been like over the last few days here.
Here we go. Bryson Stott taking a pitch away. Okay,
Yeah,
so nice day for ball.
Yeah, really interesting change in the dynamics here with their lineup. They've gone with Bryson Stott. I always thought this was going to be a great move. I love the way this guy handles the strike zone. He takes a lot of pitches. He puts the ball in play a lot. I mean, obviously in this situation, pops this one up, but he's done a really good job at the top of the lineup, seeing pitches and setting things up for the big boys, both all of Turner and Harper and Schwarber behind them.
Have they ever been tempted to utilize Trey at the leadoff spot consistently? And I know it was talked about a little bit in spring training, but why has that never surfaced as just a consistent leadoff guy for them when I know he doesn't run like he used to, but he's still one of the fastest players in the sport.
So I think more than anything else, he's one of those guys who does his on base wise. He, as of late, he's sort of a hacker and a slasher, and he kind of gets on base by hitting. I mean, he's a good hitter, and that's how he really gets on base. He's not a guy that necessarily takes pitches or sees a ton of pitches, although he is working on that portion of his game a little bit more to try to increase that. And I think the Phillies overall have done a better job of like making better swing decisions. They got knocked out of these playoffs the last couple of years because they couldn't, swing in the zone, and so that was something that was pretty important for them to try to work on during the course of the spring and the off season to try to minimize some of those swings and misses. But I think that this guy is in the two holes is in a really good spot. I think they thought about at some point, and he may do against left-handers. He may be the leadoff guy. But I think that they feel pretty good about having Stott up there. Obviously, Schwarber was the guy over the last few years, and they won a lot of games with Schwarber up there. But they need somebody to protect Harper right now, and that's why they've got Schwarber behind.
And so this has to do with Castellanos being cold as well, and so they want somebody like Schwarber behind him.
Well, they like. I mean, Castellanos been one of their most consistent hitters actually so far this year.
Actually,
But
yeah, I should take that back. Yeah, the slashing is pretty good.
he's been really good. But I think that they just need somebody they feel is a little bit more reliable back there. And just as I said, he hasn't been walking much. He actually did a good job of staying off some pitches, and I'd like to see him be really aggressive. They typically don't had not run in front of Harper in the past, but I think they're going to start doing that more because they got Schwarber behind them. That they won't just walk him, with runners in scoring position, and they're going to have to, pick their poison.
Yeah, here's Bryce. And so if you're watching on playback, what you can do is if you're new here, bottom left corner of your screen, you can press on that little sound button. Stage is us, stream is the broadcast that you're on. So something to keep in mind. That's in there to Harper.
Yeah, Harper actually has heated up quite a bit. I mean, he talked about, it's going to take him maybe 20 games or whatever. And when they were back in St. Louis, he started to just drive some balls the other way. I think he had at one point he had three out of the 4 games he had hit home runs. He's starting to swing it.
He's got some count leverage now on McGill. Yeah, Crucky said on that last pitch, did you hear that? It looks like a four-seamer, or it's labeled a four-seamer, but it looks like it's cutting. Probably.
I think he just does it to his glove side sometimes.
Yep. He went around there.
Yeah, on that particular pitch, that's the pitch that they've been doing a good job of laying off of when they're ahead in the count instead of swinging at the breaking ball, and that's sort of what got them in trouble, late in the season and in the playoff situation.
And he got him. Challenge pitch from McGill, his first strikeout of the night. You mentioned how the Phillies had that struggle in this past postseason. Was it a similar case a couple years ago? Was that the whole transition that the Diamondbacks made in that NLCS?
Yeah, it was amazing. I think it was I can't remember his first name. The pitcher, Fott.
Oh, Brandon Pfaadt. Yeah,
Brandon Pfaadt. I mean, he ended up. I mean, he literally didn't even have to throw any of his pitches for strikes. He was spinning, breaking balls off the plate, and they were just fishing. And it become a little bit of a theme, and they started executing. You got to give the Diamondbacks a lot of credit for executing the plan, and the Phillies not being able to hold up and be a little bit more choosy. I mean, hitting's hard, as we know. It's a really difficult thing. But there was just, the Phillies were just really, really over aggressive.
He pours one in to Kyle Schwarber, who's behind 1-2. Yeah, with the Phillies, part of the conversation I've started up on Foul Territory is that I think this is the most complete regular season team in the division, but I don't know if they're necessarily the best playoff offense. That's how I put it. I think the rotation now is really, really stacked up and they can keep up with the rest. I'm just like, okay, we've now had 2 postseasons where good pitching and adjustments has gotten them and the roster hasn't changed. So something's going to have to change with their approach. And obviously hitters just countering what they're seeing because, now it's been back-to-back years that they've been beaten.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. And one of the things is, well, can they teach old dogs new tricks? Well, this guy, Schwarber, he jumped his points on his batting average 50 points just by concentrating and using the middle of the field a little bit more. And so I think you can. I think it's a conscious effort. And I think that these guys are trying to do just that. They've actually, as far as swings and misses, swinging out of the zone, have been one of the best teams in baseball at it. They just haven't gotten everything going yet. I mean, that's a perfect example. That's a pitch that, that Kyle Schwarber might, fish at a pretty darn good changeup in the past.
Yeah, it does a nice job, spitting on that one. And then here's McGill coming with a 2-2. And there's Beatty getting under it. McGill gets through the top of the first here for the Mets. Here comes Aaron Nola getting ready. One thing that we can do here on Playback while they take a 2-minute break is just be like, boom, we're on another game, which is the Guardians already beaten up on the Yankees and
Wow.
Clark Schmidt 5-0 in the fourth frame. Yanks coming off a nice series victory just now against the Rays. They won 3 of 4. They probably should have swept them. Devin Williams blew a 4-run lead for the Yanks on Saturday, but
Wow.
they're riding pretty high right now.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by like the rest of that. I mean, Toronto's played pretty well, it seems.
12
But
and
the
10.
rest of those teams, like Baltimore, struggling with their starting pitching, I knew it was going to be an issue for them. I mean, when they lost Corbin Burns, you sort of have to replace him with somebody. And I think it was a Sagano, or I think that they or
Pagano
that,
and Charlie Morton, that's not going to get it done in my
I just
mind.
don't. Yeah, I just don't feel like that. It gave him enough thunder.
And not cheap either. I mean, I think if you add up what those two are making, and I know it fills 2 slots, it's pretty close to the money that Corbin Burns is pulling in this year. That's the crazy thing with Baltimore is our conversation shifted from, hey, this is an ownership group that's trying to sell. They're keeping payroll super tight to, no, they just sold. They actually spent, I think they upped payroll by close to $70 million this year. So it's not like they didn't do anything. It's just a question of, did they do the right thing? Or
Right.
did they try and just fill up a little bit of depth that might not even be good enough to last in the American League East? You know,
I
Morton's been
can
okay.
understand. Yeah, I can understand the Charlie Morton thing to try to provide some depth, but when you're talking about a top of the rotation, I mean, and I'm a big Eflin fan, but if you're not going top of the rotation after losing Corbin Burns, you put yourself in a tough spot, especially when you're relying on some really young offensive players.
Yeah, it's a good division too. Yeah, we were very critical of the Orioles on foul territory the last few months, and so far it is playing out that way. It's not a bad team. I really like the bats. It's
Yeah.
young, exciting bats, but it does not look like a starting rotation to be feared in the regular season, and especially if we get to the playoffs. We'll see. Kyle Bradish should be back at some point in the second half of the season, but it's a guy coming off a big surgery. We'll see. Here's Nola. What's wrong here? 6.65 ERA and 21 2/3 innings. What's going on?
Well, I think he's a tick down right now in his velocity. Although we went back and looked at his velocities around this time last year, and that was probably pretty similar, maybe a half a mile difference. The big deal is that his command, I mean, walks. He had 2 4-walk games back to back. He doesn't walk people. He's going to give up home runs because he throws a lot of strikes in the strike zone, but he cannot let guys get free passes ahead of that. And that's really where he's been struggling as far as it's just overall command of, just being able to throw more consistent strikes.
He's got one to Lindor there, a ball and a strike to the leadoff hitter for the Mets, who was part of the MVP conversation last year. He's in the prime of his career. He's having a great time. He had the big walk-off hit for the Mets the other night. Like, was that a miss with the curve?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously that was almost a non-competitive breaking ball. He
Right.
typically throws his breaking ball where guys are at least have to think about, taking a swing at it. That's the one.
Yep. Better spot. He went
When
right
he's
back.
when he's throwing that, consistently, and he's driving the ball down in the zone. You see his pitch arsenal that they're flipping up there right now, and throwing a lot of four seamers and sinkers. But you see the numbers against those pitches. He's got to be able to set up that knuckle curve a little bit better with his fastball.
And Lindor clocks one deep right field, and it's gone. Francisco Lindor with a solo shot off of Aaron Nola to start off this game for the Mets offense. It's 1-0.
Yeah, and again, I mean, this is a breaking ball that just kind of hangs up in the zone. I'm not sure if he tried to cut this or just spin another breaking ball, but again, it's really about him being able to get the breaking ball down in the zone, to be able to stay out of the middle of the zone. Yeah, it is a curveball that just kind of hung up there. Didn't really do a whole lot. I mean, as a hitter, you love this pitch, especially if you're hitting swinging from the left side, and he's been their catalyst.
What do you think about the pitch mix / pitch calling there just now? So we had back to back curves in that sequence at one point where, one, like we mentioned, was pretty off the plate. The next one caught the zone, and then they just kept shifting a little bit towards the right. Same exact pitch, same exact velo to one of the better players in the game.
Yeah, it was interesting pitch selection just because you typically don't throw three breaking balls like that, in the same area to a guy that good unless you're going to get him to fish on one of those. So if he's going to throw that last one, I think it was a 2-strike pitch. He's got to spin it so that he tries to get a chase out of it, perhaps, and he just spun it right in the middle of the plate.
Soto's up. That one's just off the
plate.
Yeah,
if Aaron Nola doesn't get that pitch, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pitch that has to, that's good. That's a good sinker. It's a good spot. That's a ball that maybe Soto will roll over. But if he's not getting that pitch, then it's going to be a tough night for him.
No, time to go through there.
I think that's the curveball that he probably wanted to throw Lindor, but he just left it up there and spun it in the zone.
I don't know if you've heard about this at all, but Ruben, some of the local radio in New York is just bored, so they've been going after Soto, and after 3 weeks saying he's not worth the contract, in a very, very too soon.com way. And it's not even like he's been bad. He's getting on base. His OPS is in the 800s. You would think the way they're talking about him that he's got a 408 OPS. I know he goes down on strikes there, but he's setting the table for them. The slugging percentage is a little behind right now, but I think he's close to a 140 OPS plus, 40% better than league average, and where he's usually maybe 150 to 170. What are we talking about here?
I mean, obviously, and in the Northeast, you're going to get an expectation that's way, way different from any other place. You're going to spend, $750 million on a player. Then you want that guy to have immediate impact. I mean, Lindor went through it when he was traded over and he signed. I mean, he really struggled in the first couple of years there. And New York is, and I know he played, I know Soto played there in New York with the Yankees. But I think it was different when you get sort of traded over to a place as opposed to signing to it, in a certain spot. It's different, man. Your expectation is blown off the roof. And I think you just got to give it some time. He's an elite hitter. And he's going to be good. He's not going to be the greatest every single month. And so you got to be a little patient with the man.
Yeah, liner into Trey Turner's club. So there's 2 away. By the way, Pete Alonso has been a monster so far in his first few weeks. And he's probably a little pissed off about how the offseason went. It's not money to sniff at, but at the same time, I think he was expecting something to be 9 figures, and there just weren't teams playing ball for him. He's one of the best power hitters in the sport. The thing for me was, as there's Nimmo taking a strike, some of the teams that I think really could have used him and had glaring holes at first base are teams that just don't spend right now in free agency. The Mariners, who ended up with Rowdy Tellez, who looks good right now. The Pirates, who desperately need a first baseman. The Nationals ended up going with Nathan Lowe as a short, as a stopgap, right? So teams like that who could have used a first baseman. The Blue Jays apparently had some interest. It didn't seem like it ever was really coming along. So you do look now and you're like, really? People didn't want to call for this?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it was, sometimes it's a little bit like having draftitis. Everybody knew that he was becoming a free agent, and I'm sure that he wanted to show the world that he was worth 10, 15 figures. I mean, knowing Pete Alonso, he's a pretty sensitive guy. He wants to show the world who he is, and struggled a little bit in that platform, free agent year. But he's been one of the more prolific power hitters in baseball. And I think this is that's a strike there, Scott.
Ooh. That's
a strike. And again, those are the pitches that if Aaron Nola's not getting that comeback or that right hip, front hip sinker on lefties, then he's going to be in trouble.
Yeah. So far, he's not getting either side of the plate right now. That one's lifted to left. There's Max Kepler calling for it. That'll get through the first 4. Aaron Nola, but Lindor pops him for a solo shot. It's 1-0 Mets. Yeah, but I mean, we've seen calls on both sides of the plate so far tonight not go his way. So he already gets an idea of what he's going to be working with this evening. And it is a team that has some pretty good plate discipline, especially at the top. We've seen. I mean, Nimmo's got really good strike zone awareness. So
Yes,
does
sir.
Lindor. Of course, Soto's probably the best in the sport in that department. So this is not a night where you want to be like, really, I'm not getting the corners like that.
Yeah, that makes it tough for a guy like Nola, who's a control and command guy. He's not going to blow anybody away with his stuff anymore until he starts building some of that arm speed. He's going to have to get those pitches.
All right, we're flipping for a minute over to watch Matt Olson against Eric Fetty. Here's ball 4. Hey, all the attention was on the Acuna tweet delete, but the Braves swept the Twins, so credit to them. I mean, they're starting to catch up, which I think is not a surprise to people that are following them for several years. What did you think, by the way, of what happened with Acuna and Brian Snicker? We got into it. We dove pretty deep today on foul territory, on fair territory with Ken as well, but curious to get your thoughts on what you saw since, he was benched back in the day. To summarize, at least for one of the takes that I thought made some sense, AJ Pierzynski's like, Acuna is a star and he's expected to be a star and they want him to lead the team. They're like, Jared Kelenic, I mean, he could get optioned soon.
Yeah, obviously there's a different expectation on a player like Acuna, and he has had in the past times when he's hit balls off the wall and not run all the time. So it's something that has happened over time more than once or twice, and it's something that they've discussed with him, I think, a couple of times. And listen, I think it's interesting. Pat Gillick used to say, we like to treat everybody the same, or we'd like to treat everybody similarly. We just want to treat certain guys more similarly than others.
I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, anybody with expectations that
right,
it's,
right.
You're going to get the same treatment on a player by player basis. I mean, you shouldn't even want that, right? If you're Ronald Acuna Jr., I mean, at the time, he's a rookie when they sat him after that incident. He had another one. The same exact thing happened in the playoffs, and they're not going to sit him in the playoffs. They just spoke to him. They're like, dude, now we're at the point where you could do that. It could cost us a playoff game. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just don't hit the send button. I've been there and done it. You just don't want to hit that send button. I know there are times when you get emotional, and that's where the internet and social media can can put you in a tough spot if you get emotional about certain things. But it's unfortunate. Hopefully they'll get past it. They got a great team. I'm sure they can't wait to get him back on the field. He and Strider, and once they do, I mean, they got a chance to be as good a team as anybody in an NL East, even though they had a tough year last year.
Yeah, Strider.
I say tough, not as good a year as they typically have.
Right. And Strider's on the shelf again, with the hamstring situation. So 1 start back and whatever. At least it's not an elbow or shoulder. That's generally what you're looking at with a pitcher. And there's Castellanos going down on strikes. McGill's off to a nice start here.
Yep. Yeah, he's hitting the spots, and he's getting them with fastballs. I mean, he's got a couple of guys with fastballs, and he's locating it, and there's nothing better than a well-located fastball. I don't care what you say. You throw a really good fastball somewhere where you want it, and you can have a lot of success.
Here's Max Kepler. He's kind of a quiet guy. How has he been received? And, why did the Phillies feel like he was the guy? I mean, you can see the season numbers here so far are pretty slow. Just a homer, 217. The on-base percentage is not there. I don't want to say the Twins gave up on him, but the Twins have to be very budget conscious. He was starting to get a little bit expensive, so they move on. Are the Phillies high on him, or they just felt like it would give them a little bit of an upgrade?
I think that for a couple of reasons they liked him. I think their scouts liked him. This is a good hitter, man. A couple of years ago when he was not unhealthy, I mean, he had some real issues with his health last year. I mean, he's pretty good. He's always been a pretty good quality hitter. They felt like they could bring somebody in here who could not only swing the bat and give them a little bit more depth in their lineup, but also he's an outstanding defender. I mean, he's a really, really good outfielder. I know that right now their outfield is not producing the way they want it to produce, Again, that's another great fastball from McGill, but that's the pitch that that Nola didn't get, but McGill is getting, which is strange.
Yeah, let's see. Oof. It's like a very similar spot there. You're
Very,
right,
very
Ruben.
similar spot, right on the corner there, and it just has to go both ways. You just hope the umpire is consistent, gets more consistent as the game goes on.
Yep. Yeah, that's when they say, "Oh, everything evens out over the course of a season." Not if you're
I'm not
Nola, you're
sure.
struggling, you're trying to get calls, and
Right,
Tyler McGill is getting the same quadrant that you're not.
right. And I think that's the only thing. As a player, I knew that. I just wanted to make sure that if a umpire was going to call pitch X, that he'd do it all the time. If he's going to give the low strike, okay. But I know that. But then don't then also give the high strike, or make sure that our guy gets the same strike. So just so we know, it's all about. To me, it's always been. I know Kratzy probably talks about this too. You sort of want to know exactly where you stand. Is this pitch on the outside part of the plate or maybe a ball out? Is it going to be a strike today? Okay. But don't call it one time and then not call it another time, because then neither the pitcher nor the hitter knows what's going on.
Got him. Yeah.
Wow, he's dealing.
Real Muto tied up there. I just thought about the call from, it was probably 5, 6 days ago at this point. What game was that? The Giants Phillies game where I think they lost 10-4, 10-6, and Real Muto got framed. I mean, whoever it was brought it in and fooled the ump, and we saw almost the same exact call a day or two later, and it was way off the plate. But it's funny, we saw almost the exact same thing in another game a day or two later, like the same exact frame. That seems to be a spot where catchers are getting really, really smooth. It doesn't look as smooth from our angle, but I guess from the umpire angle, the way they're bringing it in is really fooling some guys on the width of the plate.
Yeah, and I'm not. I'm pretty. I mean, I think the ABS system actually worked quite well during spring training. I had a chance to call some of the games there, and we had the ABS system working where the challenge system was in place. I think it worked super well, and I do believe that they're gonna. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I gotta believe that at some point they're gonna implement this thing. My feeling is that during the course of the spring, I thought that the umpiring was really good. And I have a feeling that whether it's conscious or subconscious, that they were really bearing down pitch to pitch. Don't know that they're doing the same thing right now at the major league level in the regular season games, because obviously a little bit different. If a guy's challenging every pitch, I mean, that's going to be embarrassing for an umpire, and I think that's a big deal.
It's an accountability thing. I'm so
Yes.
with you. That's where it's going to change things. I mean, when you're an umpire, you essentially have tenure after X amount of years. I mean, you can be pretty bad, and I don't think they definitely can't send you down. I don't think they can let you go. As far as we know, there's performance, there's rewards, as in all-star playoffs, etc. But if you're an older umpire or just a more senior umpire and you've been in the league and you want to do a little my way or the highway and call the pitches you want to call and have your brand of your zone, you can still do that. Next year, which is when I firmly believe that'll be implemented, I'm with you. You won't be able to pull that off, or we'll have a game where it's taken an extra hour because you're just losing every challenge. It'll get fixed. Oh, here's Nola.
He's asking if that sinker was up, which it was not. I don't know what he said to him. Whatever he said.
He said, "Is it up?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Okay, because it wasn't inside. So what do you want from me?"
Right. I mean, that's a subtle way of not being so subtle about wanting the pitches that he's supposed to get. And he sort of has to fight for himself a little bit too. And I know JT does that as well, from behind the plate. Oh,
Winker got one. And that's gone. Jesse Winker with a solo job. It's 2-0 Mets.
Yeah, and Winker's been one of those guys, a little bit of a thorn in the Phillies side. He's come up with some big hits and some big home runs. Not big numbers, but he's coming up with big hits against him. And he gets another pitch. It's up in the zone. It's sort of flat. I think this might have been a changeup, but I'm not sure. It might have been a sinker that just stayed up. The sinker that didn't sink. Yeah, he got all of it.
Oh yeah. And it just kind of enters the nitro zone of the bat when it's, essentially middle there.
Yep. And again, I mean, Nola's going to give up home runs. The key is it's got to be solo home runs for him to, to continue to keep the team in the game.
We got a Mets fan in here. There's a bouncer to short, and Turner will get the job done to retire Torrens. A Mets fan, I can't see, what is it? Ellie, New York. There we go. Prob should stop worrying about balls versus strikes and more about down the middle meatballs. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some command to be worked on here for Aaron early on this season.
Yeah, no question. And that's been his issue. I mean, he hasn't been able to hone in on his mechanics enough to get consistent strikes on the corners and stay out of the middle of the plate. And if he doesn't, then he's going to be in trouble. I mean, that's a pitch right there that hits the bottom of the zone. He doesn't get it.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, that's where he lives, right? I mean, he does such a great job of, you're looking at the box on the screen. I mean, just does such a good job of, basically it's like a game. He hits the line so often, right? He hits one of the edges so often, whether it's the bottom or the inside. And if you're not getting that borderline that should be a strike, I mean, it can really mess him up. There he goes. I mean, he's not a challenge guy, right? I mean,
No, I mean, every once in a while he'll throw his four seamer up, to try to get the swing and miss, like many guys do. But he's got to change eye levels. That's his game. Has been able to change speeds, change eye levels. He's not gonna have a ton of success up in the zone just because he doesn't throw that 94 to 97 mile an hour fastball. That's where he's got to live.
yeah, gets some chase from Luis Angel Acuna. Man, they really trolled the Braves yesterday. So here's the pitch again.
Yeah, excellent changeup. He turned that one over, and that's a pitch he's got to have. He was working on that in spring training to make sure that he threw it more consistently to both lefties and righties, just so he had another little pitch in his arsenal.
And he's starting to get a little more of a rhythm too. A strike to Beatty that he pours in. So yesterday on the scoreboard, the Mets guy in the control room wrote for Acuna, hasn't tweeted yet, we think. It's a little brotherly love, poking fun at the Braves. I thought that was a nice touch. I mean, whatever. It's life. Let's have some fun. Nobody was hurt. So I thought that was good stuff. I want to see, the Mets, Braves, and Phillies, at least the three top teams by far in the division, do a little more of the petty jabs throughout the year.
Yeah, and honestly, I do think that at the end of the day, it's going to be those three teams making a run at this NL East. I don't necessarily see anybody running away with it. Each team has its warts. Each team has its abilities, and I think it's going to be a heck of a race.
Ball and two strikes to Brett Beatty. And by the way, if you're catching us on YouTube right now on the Philly Show or the Foul Territory YouTube channel, I see some of you. Hop over, say hello, log into Playback. It is free to get yourself an account and be able to watch the game as we're watching, and also participate in our chat right now. And there's a pop out to short. So that's going to do it for the Mets try in the bottom of the second. But Jesse Winker adds a homer to what Francisco Lindor started for the Mets in the first. They're up 2-0. Yeah, I see a question where Kratzy is at, and Jamin, he'll join us pretty much soon after we change and get Kratzy out of the bullpen. He's probably the bullpen catcher right now for another inning. Ruben will go have a nice dinner and maybe catch the rest of the game. There's Judgy striking out, but yeah, we'll switch it up here. Mike Cameron also is supposed to join us in about 15 minutes.
Nice.
So we'll get Cam involved. He's trying to do a little more in this world, and working on Friar territory, our Padres show right now, and doing a nice job with that. Apparently, by the way, yeah,
I talk to people all the time, Scott, about Mike Cameron and what he meant as a teammate. I haven't gotten a chance to be around him enough to really engage with him, but I hear nothing but awesome things about him as a person, as a teammate, and it's great that he's trying to get into this thing.
yeah, really relaxed demeanor, very easy conversation, tons of stories. Of course, he played for a long time, so
Yep,
yeah, we're looking forward to that. Mets fans know him, obviously, among many other fan bases.
pretty damn good player too.
That's right. Yeah, he
Pretty
could run
damn
him
good center
down.
fielder.
Yeah, he had some good pop. Like that was a really solid ball player during his time period. By the way, in that game that we just flipped away from, Kyle Manzardo hit another home run. He's starting to take off. He's got a really sweet swing. The Guardians were in love with him, and the Rays were too at one point. They just made the trade there. Who was Manzardo for? I'm trying to
Yeah, I
remember.
can't remember what that
Was
trade
it
was, but I
Savali?
it might have been Savali, Eric
Okay.
Savali. I will tell you this: I got a chance to watch Manzardo swing the bat a little bit in the Arizona Fall League. I think I did one of those games there for the network, and wow, good looking swing, man. Good looking swing.
Yeah, it's coming together for him. They were like, the pop will come. Don't worry. There was,
Yeah, that was the question, right?
yeah, that was the question. They were like, is this a doubles guy or is this a homer guy? And we're getting the answer right now. All right, here's Alec Boehm. What's going on?
Yeah, Bomer's just had a really, really tough go. I think he's one of those guys who's never gone through one of those offers. I think he was 0 for 22 or 0 for 24. I don't think in his entire career, in his life, had he ever gone through that. Really high expectations, a lot of talk about whether he's going to get traded last year and all this other business during the course of the offseason. And he came into spring training and had a supreme spring training. I mean, he swung the bat really well. Great attitude, the whole 9 yards. I was down there, got a chance to be around him a little bit. But, he just had a really tough start and it kind of snowballed on him. And he's starting to come out of it a little bit, starting to pick up some extra base hits, starting to swing the bat more like Alec Boehm. I think, Rob Thompson dropped him down on the lineup to take a little heat off him, try to have him relax. And I think it's starting to pay off. He's starting to put together a little bit better at bats.
Where are we? Because the screen's small for me. Is this the eighth hitter? Is that where they dropped him
He's in the
to?
8 hole. Yeah, he's in the 8
Yeah,
hole.
wow.
Yeah, he dropped him way down.
Fouls that one off. It's a ball and 2 strikes for him. Lindor and Winker with homers as we're watching the Mets leading the Phillies right now as they start up this series today. Mike Cameron joining us soon. Eric Kratz as well. Ruben hanging with us here for the third, and then he'll skip away. I got a comment from Jay Velasquez in the chat. With the way the Mets bullpen has been pitching, if they're leading past the 5th inning, they're winning the game. I will say, I don't know if it's still holding, but when I last checked a few days ago, the Mets had the top bullpen ERA in baseball, and the Phillies are towards the bottom right now. They're a bottom 3 bullpen ERA. So there is a big difference there. I don't know if there's necessarily a massive talent difference. So it just might be one side's cold, like we talked about in the kind of pregame show, and one side is super hot right now. I like the Mets bullpen, but man, they are freaking nails at the moment.
They're pitching extraordinarily well. You see a really good hammer here from Tyler McGill, and it gets Bohm out in front, way out in front on that breaking ball. Great pitch, and he's dealing right now. But hey, that's as surprising an event that's happened in all this year. I did not, for the life of me, think for a second that bullpen was going to be that good. But they've been outstanding, and you got to give them credit. And bullpens are so volatile, man. I mean, from month to month. I mean, that's how you got to sort of gauge them. It's a little bit like guys who are hitting in a lineup. I mean, they get hot, they get cold. It's really tough to be really consistent back there. But I mean, the Mets have been outstanding.
It's a tight breaker.
Yeah, McGill's dealing. I mean, there's no question. He's painting with his fastball. He's spinning his breaking ball. I mean, pretty impressive so far.
Wow.
This center field thing, Scott, for the Phillies is really a big issue. Marshy is out Brandon Marsh is out now with a little bit of a tweak of his hamstring / knee. That they're going to give this guy, opportunities to play a little bit. He's had a nice series in this last series. He's starting to pick up a little bit. But that 9-hole was a black hole for them for the first, maybe 10 to 15 games. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I think Marsh was not getting any better with his knee, so they backed him off a little bit, put him on the IL, and now they're going to let Rojas get some ABs.
And a nice play by Beatty. You got to get that exchange pretty quick to get Rojas, and that's your second out in the third. Rojas has never really swung the bat consistently well for them. He's kind of looking like, his calling card obviously is glove, but he'll be a bottom of the order guy. I mean, at this point, are the Phillies potentially going to be, I don't know, looking for a different kind of solution at some point, or is Marsh, someone that they feel comfortable with platooning?
I think they're good. They want to give Marsh pretty much an everyday spot there, but he hasn't really taken hold of it. And obviously, with him being out right now, that sort of backs him up a little bit. But he's had an awful start to the season. I mean, he's a really talented guy who just hasn't been able to get it going. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that, even though the Phillies still have a pretty decent record, based on the fact that a bunch of those guys in that lineup are really sort of struggling.
There's Stott finding some open grass, so he's a 2-out base runner for the Phillies. The thing is, Ruben, last year, from what I recall, the offensive production from the outfield was not good.
No, it's not. You're right. And they didn't they felt like Kepler was going to help them a little bit. And I still think that they hope that he is going to, swing the bat better. I thought Kepler had a great spring. Mm-hmm. He was driving the ball left center, right center. He made a little bit of an adjustment. Kevin Long made a little bit of an adjustment in his hands, making a little flatter bat to give him more consistent swing path. And I really like the way he put his bats together, and just hasn't really gotten it going quite yet. He's had a couple of pretty good games where he's hit the ball in the screws, but not super consistent yet.
1-0 to Trey Turner. Popped up. And they're mentioning how you don't have a lot of foul ground in certain areas over at Citi Field.
Yeah. It's tight there. There's no question.
That's fine.
I remember coaching on the lines over there. I was over there at first base for a year in 2018. So it was interesting. I crossed over to the enemy side. A lot of people in the Phillies nation were not very happy with it.
You gave it a year just to test it out. You wanted to see how enemy waters looked, right? Just wanted to make sure the grass wasn't greener over there.
That's right.
We're back.
That's
right. Yeah, Ellie in the chat mentioning solid crowd for a Monday night in New York. I agree. Attendance has been really good there. All right, ball and 2 strikes to Trey Turner.
Yeah, they really haven't gotten Trey Turner going all that much. I mean, it was right in the 270 mark. He hasn't gotten things going, and I think some of the Philly fans are getting a little frustrated with him. The expectation is so high. I mean, this is an MVP caliber hitter, and he's had sections of his stay with the Phillies so far where he's had a lot of success, but not as consistent as the Phillies fans and the Phillies would like, I think.
A monster contract too.
Yeah.
And he does work another walk. 2 walk games so far for Trey. I heard them go, wow. I heard
that is a wow
on the broadcast. Yeah. I mean,
you don't want to walk
more often with the Nats.
Yeah. Why do you want to walk guys in front of in front of this guy right now?
Agreed.
Phillies probably want McGill to make that pay.
Yeah, Bryce getting ready to step in after striking out in the first. Uh-oh. Look out, Ruben. Your last 10, 15 minutes with us might be with company. There he is.
Hey!
Mike Cameron ready to go.
Yeah. What's up?
Cam, what's up? We got to take you off mute. Just hit that mute. There you go. How you doing?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
We're good, man. Hanging, watching the game. Great to have you on, former Met, and also one of the hosts of Friar Territory, which you can hear with Kyle Glazer and Heath Bell, another former Met. I think the Mets fans probably like Cam better than they like Heath. No offense to Heath. You know, his better days were elsewhere. But anyway, Cam, how you doing?
Uh, I'm good. I'm good, Scott. How you doing? Rube,
Good,
how you
good.
doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Great to see you, man.
Always good to see you guys, man.
Are
Always
you
good.
are you getting the game right
Watching
now,
baseball.
Cam? You see the game?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
I got it on the I got it on the TV in the house, and I got it right here on the computer right in front of me too. So I
Perfect.
guess I'm all over. I'm all
Yep,
over
you're on it. You're on
it.
it. So anyone that's watching us right now on one of the YouTube channels you're on, we'll shut that off eventually. So you'll just be here in playback, free to get an account and watch along with us. And now Tyler McGill has walked up the bases loaded. He's in a whole heap of trouble, or maybe not. I mean, he's gotten a lot of swing and
Yeah.
miss so far tonight, Mike. So he's got, I believe, 5 strikeouts already this evening against the Phillies, but he's losing some control right now.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, it looks like it's still a little chilly up in New York, man. I tell you. But obviously, Rube knows this. This is one of the biggest in division rivalries that it is, going back and forth for many of years. And some Phillies. When I was there, Phillies got the best of us. That's when Rube had all the best players all around the infield. So it's always good, man. Always good to be a part of this stuff here because we know that it's going to be kind of a rowdy series, and obviously this is the first one, and both teams are playing well. I think they're both are playing well. I haven't seen much of the Phillies this year, other than a few times, but for the most part, these are two of the big powerhouses in the NL East.
Pitch number one's a strike to Kyle Schwarber. Yeah,
You got a
we
little,
were. Go ahead.
you got a little out of sync, but I mean, it was a half Jerry Hafner went out there and tried to settle him down a little bit, see how he responds.
Yeah. You got a patient hitter at the plate too, man. I mean, Schwab is still doing it. And you make a mistake here, it could be 4-2 real quick.
And this is a spot where I love Kyle Schwarber in the cleanup spot. I know they were riding that leadoff spot, Kyle Schwarber, for years, but whew, down to his knees for the swing and miss.
Another nasty changeup,
Yeah.
and he's still mixing it up. We'll see how
I
good that
mean,
visit was.
yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely good because you have to be able to go to something else besides your fastball to get these guys a little bit out of sync. And obviously, being able to have that changeup can be neutralized a lefty from a
Ooh,
Got
he
him.
righty.
did it.
You want to fire up a crowd there, get yourself into a mess, and then just wiggle right out of it. Tyler McGill, the big punch out of Kyle Schwarber. It did get him to chase there pretty good, Ruben.
Yeah, nice job of bouncing back. I mean, listen, whatever Hafner had to say about him or say to him as far as the mechanics, maybe he got a little off kilter because he had been painting prior to that. But really nice job of bouncing back against really, really tough hitter who's been super productive for the Phillies.
Yep. And by the way, Mike, you mentioned, both teams playing well. We were trying to nitpick a little bit and see what's
Yeah,
going on with the Phillies, obviously, because Ruben's seen them every day. So we were talking about the bullpen and maybe a little more outfield production they'd like to see. At the same time, I should make sure I mention, like, the Mets are 15-7. They look really good. The Phillies are 13-9. They're
yeah.
they're fine.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, look, this is a team that's built to go late in October, man. So they expect to play well. And I think, the one thing that you can always look at is you can't get too far behind this division. You got like well, it used to be a three-headed monster, but right now it's the Mets and Phillies at the top of it. And then you got the Marlins, and obviously the Braves are just unraveled right now. So we don't know, and they got a lot of guys out. So it just kind of right now, this is your time to build your hay and put yourself in position. As we always start to look towards that we're getting close to the end of April, talking about it now, we start to look around the corner and it's May, and then we get around Memorial Weekend and we see where everybody stacks up. It's the quarter pole then, so we can see where everybody's going. But we know that the Phillies and the Mets are two teams that are supposed to be competing for a division and also trying to play for late October.
No doubt.
All right, last half inning here for Ruben Kratzel. Jump in and take the reins soon. Home third. Aaron Nola served up a couple homers so far tonight. Lindor and Jesse Winker. This is Tyrone Taylor. Of course, Jose Siri is going to be on the injured list for a while. Pretty gruesome injury for
Yeah.
him. So Taylor's going to get some extended playing time right now.
Yeah, Mike, you mentioned something about this. I think you have to wait till you really assess your team. To me, it used to be like somewhere in the mid-May when you knew
Yeah.
like what you had. But now with the advent of more teams that have chances to be in the playoffs, I think you have to sort of wait until like June or the middle of June. You really don't know what you have compared to the rest of the division. I mean, you saw what happened with Detroit last year. They bounced back late
definitely.
and jumped into it. So I think if I was a GM right now assessing what I had in my club, I flipped it on in there, Tyrone.
Yeah, there's a knock for Tyrone Taylor into right.
I think you sort of assess your team a little differently now because of where you are as far as a playoff contender team is concerned. I know that these two teams, the Mets and the Phillies, they're going to be hell bent on adding at some point during the course of this season because they have a higher level team. But those in between teams, you just never know whether you're buying, selling, doing both. It's quite the challenge for some of those clubs.
Yeah, I don't know how the GMs do it now, man. Like do you go early and go get the players that you're looking for to help your team before the cost is driven up? And obviously, when you have two teams that are supposed to compete late in October, obviously you need to have these guys kind of synced in. Once again, we know what the Phillies have, but they may be looking to add a piece here or there. As you said, Ruben, earlier, that they need a little more production from the outfield, and obviously that's always a big thing when you're scouring the waiver wire and you're trying to put together some players to go out and get some players and stuff. So we'll see how that kind of transform over the course of the season.
And now it's a party. Announce yourself, friend.
It's
There he is.
Eric Kratz. I mean, the Eric Kratz is showing up.
The
Eric Kratz, the guy who texts the guy who texts Mikey C all the time, and the guy who got fired by Ruben.
I still love you though, man. I still love you. We've all been fired, brother. We've all been fired.
Actually, I shouldn't say that.
Maybe Cam hasn't.
You traded.
I got fired. I've been fired. I've been fired. Getting DFA'd is like getting fired.
That's what Kratz uses.
Yeah, exactly.
Kratz is great with that.
Matter of fact, I got DFA'd my last year playing. We were actually going in and play against the Phillies, and I remember who called me. Like, I was on the way to the ballpark. I didn't take the bus. I was in the car riding over, and God, I forgot who called me. God, dang, what is his name? I come up with it in a minute. He was our bench coach. And he's like, "Where you at?" I said, "I'm on my way to the ballpark." He said, "All right, when you get here, man, Tito want to talk to you real quick."
Oh, is it DeMarlo Hale?
Yeah, DeMarlo.
Yeah,
It was DeMarlo. I don't know how
yeah.
to forgive DeMarlo. Like, all right, cool. I walk in there, I see Tito, and then I see Theo, I see the Ben, I see Ben. I said, "Oh, oh man, okay, what's going on here?" As we watch Soto take a strike right here, but yeah, he said, "Hey man, you been good to us," and I was like, "Oh boy, what do we got going on here?" And he's like, "Well, we're gonna DFA you," and I was like, "Oh man." Like, I didn't know the feeling. Had a lot of friends in the game to get DFA. I never know what that was like. Obviously, it was in my last season. I was like, I'm 38 years old. I just got DFA by the Boston Red Sox. is it time to go home? And I just remember like packing my stuff up and everybody, when I came out of the office, man, first time I really had like real tears in my eyes and I couldn't hold them back. And I was like, what is going on, man? And I packed my stuff up and I spoke to a few guys and I called home and said, man, I'm coming home, and went home for a little bit. My son was actually down or getting ready to play in Orlando. Hopped in the car, got home that same day. I left the same day, and just had everybody, Pookie and them from the Boston, ship my stuff home, and I didn't know where to go from there. It was like that was the first time I really got fired playing the game for so long, and went end up going home for a little bit. I was in Orlando, and Theo called me and said, "Where you want to play at? You want to play with the Marlins or you want to play with Cleveland?" And I was like, "Uh oh."
Uh-oh.
Uh,
Watch
oh,
out.
did he?
Juan
Yes, he did.
Soto, upper tank.
They need a higher foul
Oof.
pole.
Oh my goodness.
Three
ball was-
run
he-
shot. That
He
was
stepped, he
bold.
stepped on that one. He
Yeah,
stepped on that
and
one.
he had made Aaron Nola made some pretty good pitches on breaking pitches. He tried to rush that fastball, try to elevate on him, and he just doesn't have enough juice to be able to do that right now. And Juan Soto did some serious damage on it.
Yeah, Soto's really good at hitting the ball up for some reason. I don't know why. He hits the ball up.
He's
very
one of
well.
the left-handers who can really handle the ball up.
Yeah, look
This
at
is
this.
not a terrible pitch.
No, not at all. But to Soto, it is.
Yeah,
Exactly. To Soto, it is for a long time now, right? As
Yeah,
we've gone
like-
through an evolution really for the past 10 years of again, getting so many more pitches up in
Jesus.
that part of the strike zone. Juan Soto's like, feed me.
Wow.
Ask
Big
Hader
time.
if he can hit a fastball. Ask Hader the year they won the World Series.
You ain't lying.
19,
You
they
ain't
let that
lying.
man get a fastball. Don't ever let that man get a fastball. I would
Nah,
never.
man.
That man has to hit a dinger on a curveball.
Oh, they're
I'm
actually
walking.
checking this. They're checking
Oh.
to see if it's fair or foul.
Ooh.
He spun
It
around,
is a foul
right?
ball. They just called it a foul ball.
Whoa.
How about that?
Whoa.
Did you see a shadow there when it passed the passed the fair pole?
Wow.
Oh, it's foul.
Oh, that is foul.
Ah,
That's all foul.
Wow.
Long strike,
that's-
Poppy.
That is a long strike.
Wow.
Wow.
Just missed doinking the foul pole, huh?
That's crazy.
It's a
Game
foul.
Well,
with
listen,
inches.
you think he's going to come back with another fastball up?
Oh my gosh.
No, not
You
at all. He's
better
not
get
messing
something
around
in the
with
dirt.
He's gonna sling that hook. You
You
better
think
make
he's
gonna
him,
backdoor
make
it?
him stop on
He's gonna
second
hook-
right now. They might
gonna
go
hook
on
him.
this pitch.
You think he's gonna backdoor it, or he's gonna try to
He might throw a
Uh,
changeup, try to get him to bite on it.
he
Yeah.
wouldn't change it. Yeah.
Ruben,
spit on
what
it.
a call. You can still hit.
You know it. You know it. You never lose that. You lose the skill set, but you never lose the ability to how to think about the game. Just your body don't work the same way no more.
Hey, that's
what a
a
turnaround.
Same
much
guy.
nicer
What a
result.
turnaround.
That 2-2 there.
Show the exit velocity on that one.
Oh man. Oh one.
Well, if you want to kick me out of here, Scott, you're
I'm
more
going
than
to.
welcome
Sorry,
to do
my
so.
audio went out for a sec. I'm back.
Oh, there he is.
There we go. Oh, nope. I'm getting messed up. One sec, guys.
Who's that fella?
What a pitcher. What a pitcher.
that
bro.
him?
Yeah, that's him.
I mean,
How many
talk
years
about
ago
a
was that
glamour
picture?
shot. I wasn't there. I wasn't there high school year when we all got our glamour shots with Scott. So
With the little either the gold chain or a little silver chain.
silver. One troll in the chat one time said, "Oh yeah, he's a chain
He's a handsome
necklace
man.
aficionado.
Frankie Baseball said he's a handsome man.
He is a handsome man. Frankie knows. He's the good looks in the crew.
He's
Look
back.
at him. He's
So
back.
cute.
The Bluetooth gremlins are taking over here. Apologies. I'm back. All right, here's Pete.
Wow. This could be a big turnaround if he gets out of
Big
this
one.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Nola thought it was 3 outs. Did you see him walking off the mound?
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you that.
I think he thought it was 3 outs.
It's been a long inning.
That's a good pitch right there.
Yeah, he came back and got, both those guys. It could be a big turnaround for the Phillies if he can figure out a way to get out of this inning. Of course, Nimmo's no simple task.
And Pete's kind of owned Nola, so that was a big out.
Yeah. Oof. Missed that one. He missed that one.
He got a pitch to hit.
Yeah, he did. Man, now he's gonna get some of this, some sinking or diving right now.
Ain't nobody got time for that, Mike. Nobody got time for
that. 2 in scoring position. 0-1 misses.
Yeah, that's a little.
He does have a base open. I'm not. We'll see how he attacks Nimmo, because Nimmo's had some success against him. Let me see what his numbers are.
Who's behind Nimmo? Let's see.
13 for 52 with 2 home runs and 6 ribbies in his career against him. That's a good pitch.
Yeah.
That's the pitch he needs to get.
Yep. Who's behind him is Jesse Winker, who took him deep a couple innings ago.
That's right.
It'd be different if it was Vientos. Then they definitely go after him.
Yeah.
But that sinker in, no chance he can see this curveball, backdoor curveball. No chance he can see the 2 depths.
Gonna bounce it. Oh, he tried to come in again.
Yeah. What do we got? 2-2 right here. Got Wink on deck. Another lefty.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna give him the dead fish right
now. Gotta bounce something.
Dead fish.
Oh, he got in there. Got him.
Tripled up on the front door.
Front door.
What a turnaround. That is the ultimate turn of events. Yeah.
He would have got a lot of people on this one.
That's a Maddox freeze it right there, baby.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's
sir.
the pitch you need at that time. Ruben, you're the best. Thank you for swinging by, man. We'll see you on the Phillies show and obviously on many calls and pre and post and the whole deal with the Phillies broadcast as well. Thanks, man. Good to see you.
Great to see you guys. Hey, enjoy.
Always
we'll talk to you guys.
Yes.
Peace.
All right. And then there were 3. Mike Cameron, Eric Kratz. I'm Scott Braun. Hopefully you keep seeing my face and not the high school photo that Kratz loves. So it's a 2-0 game. What a swing, right? Literally, what a swing in the game and from Juan Soto. If that thing was just a little bit more west, it would have been gone and it would have smacked off the foul pole.
Yeah.
5-0 advantage for the Mets. And Nola does a nice job of, climbing his way out of that mess. So it's 2-0, still no damage in that half inning. Kratz, from what you've caught earlier, I mean, Ruben was talking in the first inning about how Nola wasn't getting pitches, east and west. It looks like the zone's opening up for him a little bit, but Lindor, the Lindor homers was really interesting. He had tripled up at that point with curveballs. One missed inside, a little low, probably a little bit of a missed spot. The second one was money, bottom left corner of the zone. Third one over the middle of the plate, all 76, 77 mile an hour curves. I know he likes them, but to triple up there. And then the third one, obviously, it just kind of kept getting a little closer to the middle of the plate. That's a tough sequence for me going up against someone like Lindor, who's just a smart guy.
Smart guy. And what were we talking? We were talking to Max Muncy. He was talking about the curveball. Nola's like sometimes some guys you're like, you can't triple up. You can't allow a guy to catch back up to a pitch or zone it in like that. Nola's curveball is different. Like it's different than other guys. Like it's coming from a different spot. And I mean, obviously that was middle. He throws a lot of middle curveballs. And when they get hit, you're like, oh yeah, it was middle. Well, what about the one that he threw 3 pitches ago? It didn't get hit. It's just such a tough pitch to square up. But man,
Yeah.
Lindor's got that. He's bringing out the power bats recently. Like he is just launching balls, which is scary for this lineup. Thinking that their power gets extended that far up the lineup. That was a dominant at bat there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just got to tip your cap, man. I mean,
Miguel's
this
got
guy's
7.
7 punches.
yeah, 7 punch outs. Wow.
Phillies have struggled. Watching them, the Phillies have struggled against starting pitching. And it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me how much this lineup has scored a lot of runs, but starting pitching for whatever reason, and the Mets just in general.
Yeah, there's Kepler flying out to center. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I don't think they're kind of like all in sync yet, like you got a few guys on the team that are, you know, as well as they're capable of swinging, as we look at it. And we got JT Realmuto coming up right now.
Yep.
And he hasn't like been locked in yet. I think you got let's see. I mean, other than Bryce and a few other guys, I mean, they haven't really put it together consistently like they normally do. Whatever, they're tough. I mean, they're tough. 5 or 6 guys in their lineup makes them real tough for them to be able to beat on a consistent basis on a daily and on each night also.
They're not as good as the Dodgers, obviously, but the way the Dodgers generally struggle this year against starting staffs, and then they get after the bullpen. It's the opposite. Normally, you'd think, I don't want to face the bullpen, but it's almost like they kind of feast on the dudes that only throw 2 pitches. Not the guys that got 3 pitches and they're commanding and moving around the zone. Bullpens are just now. It's just like. What was your last year, Mikey?
2011.
Okay, so you didn't see
last year.
You didn't see the full tilt, all 4 seam.
No.
I felt like that made it easier to hit in some senses, but I think it's harder for starters to hit when you're coming off the bench and it's just dudes who just throw straight and they don't have command. You're like, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah. Look, the first team I saw with these 100-mile-an-hour ballers coming out of the pen was Texas. I was like, what is going on? They had like 3 or 4 guys that throwing like 100 coming out of the pen. I said, is this the game changing into this situation? And I was like, hey man, it's gonna be hard to keep up with this. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Yeah, Donnie. I guess I didn't play that long ago. Jesus, man. I mean, goodness. I'm old, but I ain't that old. It's like I left out of the game just when it was starting to pick up, when guys are throwing real hard, and then I see how that can have an impact on your bats on a nightly basis. But I feel like all the kids are seeing this velocity. It just the toughest thing for me to see right now are guys they're calling that strike at the top of the strike zone. That is tough. That's the toughest one for me when you have that kind of velocity.
Yeah, I remember our conversation on foul territory. I think it was 2 years ago now with Mike Trout, and at one point he just kind of stopped to, I think, say to Todd Frazier, whoever was on with Kratz and I, he was like, "It's different now, right? It's different from when I entered the league." And he entered the league, I think, in 2011. And
Yeah, he
he's
did.
like, wow,
Yeah.
it's different now. He said the last few years, 3, 4 years, like you're talking about, it's not just the velo. It's that, almost every arm can become a science project, right? They can just keep throwing a pitch until they're popping up on the charts the way they want it to. And that makes it a little tougher.
Yeah, and then for a little while, guys got to use that little tacky stuff, a
Oh,
little
yeah.
spider tack.
What?
So that made it a little more interesting. A little
No.
spider tack. Yeah, that's a little bit. Yes, yeah. I look. I don't. We know, Cressy. You know how slick Major League Baseballs are. Guys should be able to use something so they can control these things. I feel like with the velocity these guys are throwing now, and a lot of them don't know how to pitch inside. That is dangerous, man. That is so dangerous. I've seen more balls fly up and in to righties from a right-hander than I've seen in a long time. And that's the difference. Guys don't really pitch inside for effect anymore. They just pitch and they're just blowing cheese. And if they can get it up in on you, they don't mind hitting you. So I wouldn't go up there without the face guard or hand guard. I would have an elbow guard. I never wore any of that stuff, but in today's game, I'll be wearing everything going up there, all kind of armor, because guys throwing too hard, man. Said stuff is flying up in there, bro. Literally.
Literally. I mean, we saw that one the other night, Jorge Lopez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Winker's
Yeah.
seeing this
For
man.
Winker. Yeah, he is. Couple knocks,
Yeah, he is.
including a homer back in the second inning off of Aaron Nola.
The Winkster.
Yeah, he's an interesting cat.
Oh yeah, I had him over here in Seattle. It was crazy. It was crazy. I was like, man, are you turning into a head case, bro? Like it's really crazy. And he was hurt, all kind of stuff. I didn't know he had like a bone spur, a disc problem, something else. He was coming off an injury off of something else. It was just rough for him in Seattle, man. And that's tough. That's a tough place to when you've been hitting in good places your whole career and you come to a new team and you come to that place, man, it's a death sentence. I'm not even gonna lie. It's hard to play. Hit it. It's hard to hit in that place, man. I don't know. There's new thing about where guys don't see the ball well out there. I didn't even know that. They don't see fastballs or whatever it is. That's like new to me. So, but to actually see when you see the games out there, like there ain't a lot of offense going on there unless Mike Trout shows up. It's gonna be some offense when Mike Trout shows up.
Judge has made that place look small.
Oh,
what a
literally.
beautiful play over at short, 6-4-3. That is nice. That almost looks like something you'd see at the All-Star game. That is pretty from Trey and Bryson Stott turning two.
I mean, that ball was rocket by Torrens.
Smoke.
That's nice.
I mean, he ran into the dugout after he was done.
Oh man.
Tossing that helmet around underneath.
Little Acuna brother. Yeah, he is. Well, catcher, he don't got time to do all that.
No, you don't got time?
He don't got time. You got to go get it.
Here's Acuna's little bro.
Yeah. He's holding his own.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he was part of it. It's interesting to see he was part of that original trade where they started getting rid of, was it Scherzer? Did they get him?
He was Scherzer. He came from the Rangers. Yep.
Yeah.
And I believe it was just straight up Acuna for Scherzer. And then the Mets got rid of some money, but did eat a lot of the money themselves. They also did the deal with Houston for Ryan Clifford and I'm forgetting Gilbert's first name. One of the Mets fans in the chat can help me out. But anyway, that was a much prettier inning for Aaron Nola to erase the runner with the double play and then get a quick out. So we'll bounce on over to the top of the fifth inning coming up next here as we're watching on Playback. And I think we're done on YouTube now. I believe, yeah, we're gonna close up YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, we're gonna say bye to you coming up, and we're just gonna be rolling here on Playback. Yeah, there we go. If we didn't already, I'm getting word from my director right now. Yep, bye to YouTube. So if you're watching on the Phillies show or the Foul Territory YouTube channel, we'll see you. But really, we'll see you on Playback. Again, you can just sign up for free and watch us and watch along with us for the last several innings of this game.